Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrei Sichka. I am Managing Partner of Credit Engineering, and today I welcome you to our Q&A session dedicated to misconceptions of trade credit. This is the new format for us, and this will be completely driven by you, by your questions, by your comments, and by your examples of the misconceptions you faced or you know or you believe is correct concerned with trade credit. My professional experience mostly dedicated to trade credit, meaning credit management in non-financial sphere. I spent good couple of decades in this sphere, and what I found and was really surprised me that lots of things which companies do about their trade credit is either stereotype or misconceptions or something else. But people continue to use them with, with efforts which deserve much more better application. Therefore, I do believe that my mission as credit management professional is to, bust all these myths about trade credit and provide practitioners and other users of credit and credit management with instruments which are working and prevent people from simply merely doing mistakes. All mistakes. This is important because every single given mistake about trade credit costs money. Sometimes it's a little amount of money, like an amount which we overspend because of late customer payment. Sometimes it's a big loss for a business because of huge bad debt, and the latter could even bring companies into the bankruptcy or on the edge of bankruptcy. And if we believe it is only payment terms or like late payment and bad debts, I can tell you that very often overspending on things like trade credit security or other things is not really a good for business, because very often companies spend too much money on trade credit security. Okay, they sleep well, but the amount they spend easily exceeds the amount of the bad debts which could have happened. So it's quite easy to manage credit. To give you an example, it's quite easy to manage credit at cost of sales. At the same time, it is, but this is not bringing any benefits for the business. And at the same time, simply finding balance between the credit and sales is not yet a job, because it could bring enormous cost. So we in credit management, and actually everyone who does, has to find a way to do that four-dimensional surfing, because we need to find a balance between sales, bad debts, and expenses. And this is quite complicated thing. And at the same time, if we do that with, following misconceptions, this opens what I found, this opens that, highway to losses, because all this wrongdoing will bring us additional spending or losses, and this will cost us money. So today we will be considering all that possible misconceptions. Please put your comments, put your even disagreements, put your questions Today we have, as I mentioned, today we have a Q&A session, so it will be completely driven by your questions, by your comments, but whatever you would like to say or want me to elaborate on. I will be doing that as long as I see your comments under this air. And preparing for today's session, I was thinking about what is the most dangerous misconception which might absorb all the others, or better say, the one which opens the door to others. And to my personal view, please correct me if I'm wrong, or, put your opinion in the comments. To me, the main and the most dangerous misconception was written in my last post on LinkedIn. It was quite simple. There is always somebody who will certainly collect a debt. Somebody, or meaning a person or a company or whoever. This is, if we take that historically in my own biography, I think on my first week of working in credit management, it was about 30 years ago, in October 1995, my first boss said a phrase like, if we take care of the debt, we will collect it. This phrase, on one side, is correct. Yeah, how can we collect a debt if we are not even trying to? This is truth. This is absolute truth. But at the same time, this moves the focus of credit management from the preparatory, from preventive measures to reactive measures, which is collection. And I see, thousands of examples over my corporate career, under my consulting career, that too many companies start working with clients, start working on the timeliness of their payments, on getting paid on time by collecting. That's why, as I said, this misconception is one of the most dangerous, because it moves the focus closer to the end, closer to the moment when actually we have not too many instruments to help business to get money back. Because, you see, collection stands in the end of the sales or supply chain process. First of all, we found the customer. Second thing, we somehow agreed on the payment terms, on payment and other terms of the terms of dealing. We agreed on the contract with this customer. Then somehow we were doing something to control whether or not doing, or maybe neglecting. But we had to do something about looking whether or not this customer is doing all right financially, whether or not they perform. And at this moment of time, we still were able to take any action, but we might took it, might not. Finally, customer paid late. And then, if we concentrate on collection, we just try to deal with consequences. Each time when I think about collection process, I think that was, one of the most bright explanation of collections job. It was written in Credit Management, a book by the living classic of credit management, Mr. Glenn Bullivant. He says, when you would like to understand what's wrong with your collection, ask your collectors on the exit interview, why do they leave? And one of that phrase sitting in my mind for last 20 years. Literally that was, we are getting blood out of stone only to correct mistakes of somebody else. That's what is collection. Collection is a corrective action. When nobody is able to do something, then we need to call customer, then we need to find a way to recover money and so on and so on. But this is in 99%. It's a mistake, it's a system mistake which happens before. Therefore, I always say to companies I'm working with, to my colleagues, that collection is always as successful as the job done before it. But when we believe that if we do our best, if we work properly to collect a debt, and this we will collect it, this automatically changes the focus on the collection, on the reactive action, instead of preventive action, which supposed to happen or to take place before the collection. And this actually creates the main part of overdue and the main part of credit management problem. Because yes, if we believe every debt or vast majority of the debts are collectible, then there is no need to control, there is no need to take care of payment terms, there is no need to assess the risk, because every debt is collectible. This is misconception. This is misconception, dangerous misconception, because this really creates a problem. You see, when we speak about, to finish with this misconception, I can speak, hours about that. But to finish with that, you see, when we follow it, when we focus our efforts on collection, we just create a problem. We're not preventing it. When we find a customer who wants to buy our product, when we properly and correctly assess their credit worthiness, when we know their potential, their credit worthiness, we match the two, and we find optimal terms which would be adequate to market, adequate to our business, adequate to our customers' business, and start dealing with them. And then we, on the stage of the credit control, we monitor how the contractual terms we agreed upon with our client, work in practice, and take timely corrective action if they don't. Meaning that, if we don't ship goods on time, we correct that because we got feedback from our client. If there is something with our goods, we correct documents. But this way, we merely ensure timely payments instead of collecting them. So when we speak about credit management, to simplify that, credit management is not a collection of overdue. Credit management is prevention of overdue to as much extent, as big extent as it is possible. When somebody will collect a debt for us, so imagine, let's take simple practical example. What if we will outsource our collection, all of our debt collection, to a debt collection agency? and they will charge us only for the amount collected. Okay, whatever percent debt collection agency takes, are we ready to pay for each and every? Are we ready to pay to a collection agency every single from a commission from every single given invoice? Everyone is in sound mind and memory would say, no, this is too expensive. But then my question would be, how can you, what is the interest of the debt collection agency to prevent late payments? The real interest of debt collection agency, I'm trying to, I'm honest with you because I'm collecting debts myself for my clients. And I can tell you, my interest is that they have more overdue, so I collect more and I got more commission. But here, there is a contradiction between me and my clients in best interest. Because as a business, my client doesn't want my service. The business needs customers who pay on time. How collection could help on that? Collection is a correction of a mistake. So when we speak about credit management process, our job is not to collect as fast as possible. Is to make sure we make less mistakes which bring us overdue payments. Take responsibility on that. But we will never get there, never ever, if we will consider credit management as a collection and we continue to believe that there is always somebody who will collect that. Quite recently, I got a call from a client and they said, we ship goods to our client and in 3 months our client declared bankruptcy. Now the bankruptcy is in proceeding. We are speaking with liquidation commission. Do you think, with the liquidator, sorry, do you think there is still a way to collect something? Well, what can I answer? I can only repeat maybe shorter version of what I've just said. In that case, when the customer, we can only collect money which exists, which our counterpart possesses, but if there is no money, we may, whatever methods we use, legal ones, illegal ones, whatever, we cannot simply create money which do not exist. So that, following that dangerous misconception that, we just, if collectors are not agree on 10%, we will give them 20% or 25%, and then they will be more, more motivated, they will be more effective, and they will collect the debt. Yes, collectors, I am collecting debts for last 30 years. I can collect the money which exists, but if they don't exist, I can only say, sorry, I'm a credit manager, not a God. I cannot create a vault in 6 days. I cannot create miracle for you. Whatever part of the debt you will promise me. That's why I say this is the most dangerous misconception. I think I've repeated that already more than 3 times. That's enough. The closest misconception which stands next to it is quite funny one. And it is almost the modification of this one. It says that in order to reduce overdue outstanding, We need to collect more effectively. I don't even, I faced that, speaking with my subordinate. Don't get me wrong. That subordinate was one of the most professional and dedicated and, committed person to work with. And he said, I remember that dialogue, he said, if I have more time to send more reminders, we will have less overdue. That happened about maybe 15 years ago. I didn't tell him anything. But I just found that a good reason to simply, to give it a deep thought. And that just because that was, intuitively I found that there is no match. How can we reduce overdue if we merely collect? Then, obviously, many things happen afterwards. We discussed that. And, now, following what I said above today, it becomes clear that mere number of reminders does not prevent overdue, because, you see, it's like, let's take it a bit funny because maybe I'm too serious. Like imagine the Titanic, who already faced that big ice stone in that iceberg in the sea. Then there is a hole in the board. And then the water is coming. And then the captain of Titanic comes to the deck and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, our ship is sinking and we need to save it. So please start scooping out the water, as fast as you can, otherwise we're all gonna die." And then people, take everything they're able to take and try to scoop out the water. But that's impossible to save Titanic, because the water will be coming and continue to come. The more we scoop up, the more water we remove, the more is coming. In best case, we will create a balance, but it will continue to come. And that job of removing water will be merely endless. Merely endless. And as long as we continue to concentrate on overdue, we would never remove it. Because real job for the best interest of the company we are working for is not only collecting the debt and overdue, but to prevent its recurrence. Therefore, the real job of a collector or a credit manager, again, is not about collecting, is about making customers pay on time. Here, I will quote we didn't speak with Abe Sanchez. Some of you might still remember or know in person Walking Bear, who was delivering lots of writing interesting articles about credit management, and he had different from others, very interesting and drastic position, but he had, to me, the best definition of credit management. He made it in 6 words: keep them buying and keep them paying. So the focus should never be on collection. Yes, everyone who is working in credit, that's my strong, I am convinced, I don't believe, people who say that there is credit and there is collection are right. I don't subscribe to that point of view. Okay, in some companies this exists. I wish them good luck. But on the other side, I believe that there should be no elite in credit management. So everyone who calls himself credit pro should be able to come to customer in a single moment of time and resolve the issue, meaning that get money on time and prevent them from paying late. By finding solution, obviously. It's not like somebody is cool with a baseball bat who gets paid. Only legal ways to do that. So focusing on collecting is an endless job. It's just like Greek myth about Sisyphus, who was moving stone up to the summit of mountains, and like 1 meter before the summit the stone was getting back down, and then he was starting doing the job again and again. So yes, if you like it, some people might like process. Please, I could not prevent you or prohibit you to do that, but if you would like to work smart instead of working hard, don't concentrate on the collection. Do your best to prevent overdue, whatever tools you have in your possession. Please, I would like to see your opinion in comments. Maybe some of you disagree with me, and maybe you have your own view on misconceptions, so I'll cover several on them, and then I'm looking forward to your questions. Preparing to this air, I wrote 2 posts on LinkedIn. One was the list of, let's say, top list of misconceptions. I will try to cover couple of them more today, and then depending on what would be your questions and what would be your comments, we will continue this discussion. Anyway, today is a Q&A session, so please feel free to to cut me, and feel free to stop me with your questions on comments, and I will switch immediately to that. On the level of the company, there is, top misconception and top myth about trade credit was shown. Like we did a poll. Some of you might see that, might see that already. I will share if necessary. So remind me, it's somewhere on top of on top in my line on LinkedIn. Longer terms, more sales. Quite simple definition. That's obviously this grows, and this misconception derives from the famous conflict between credit and sales. Obviously, this is the strong, so the argument which is normally abused by commercial teams and by sales teams, especially those who have not spent enough time or sufficient time to understand the credit process. It happens, and it happens where I had many discussions with my sales colleagues, even though I used to be a sales advocate within the finance. But nevertheless, we had quite difficult and quite long discussion about the sales teams. If we try to walk a mile in the shoes of a salesperson, we would understand that they got sales target which they have to meet. And obviously they need resources to achieve that. Because, I mean, how can we sell something which is incompetitively priced, or something which comes at the incompetitive terms? This won't work. Quite simple thing. We come to a market, we've got perfect product. We come to a market where similar products or this type of products is sold on 30 days payment term. How can we expect our customers pay in 7 days? Or pay us in advance? There are better replacements, especially when we speak about distributors distributor who is intermediary between us and retail chain. They don't care about the quality of our product because they are simply providing service against payment. Whatever our products are, there is a payment term requested and there is their working capital. So, if our terms are incompetitive, we could not sell that at all. Therefore, sale is not completed until it is actually paid for, but before asking for money, we have to sell first. If we didn't sell anything, how can we expect any money at all? That's one side of the story. Another side of the story, obviously, so when we speak about coming back to the payment terms, if at the very beginning or by definition our payment terms are not competitive, yes, in this case, when we extend payment terms to match the market, to be competitive in the market, that might bring more sales. But if we try to be holier than the Pope, and if while on the market the payment terms are 30 days and we offer 60 days, then somewhere in the very, very beginning, on the first shipment or several shipments, we might have a spike. We might have a spike in sales, but very temporary one. Then our sales volumes will continue to be stable. You know why? It's quite simple. Because we are not selling more than final consumers consume. So we all are dependent on the consumer demand. Every business has is similar in two terms. We all dependent on the consumer demand and we all want cash in the end. Quite simple, yeah? But the volume of our sales will be driven by consumer demand. Even if we produce, whatever example we take, if we produce tanks, the volume of tanks will be dependent on current needs of a country, but paid by taxpayers who are consumers. And if there is no money, then there is no tank, so there is no demand. Whatever payment terms we give, whatever payment terms we extend to our clients, the volume of sales, the demand, will not be changed. Payment terms is just a method to balance financial conditions between the two parties. And we cannot drive we cannot drive demand by payment terms. We can, yes, as I said, we can bring a spike by enormous extension of payment terms. This spike will come at a cost. We like it or not, because move from, extension of payment terms from 30 days to 60 days will bring us higher exposure, higher receivables, higher exposure, higher financing cost, but not necessarily this will bring us additional profit. Yeah, so therefore this is important and dangerous misconception and stereotype. Payment terms could be driven by volume, by market, by our competitors. Yes, other story than if all the competitors increase their extended longer payment terms, and then we are staying with our 30 days, while everybody is given 60. Then we have to go. We have to consider that at least. What's going to happen? But payment terms, extension of payment terms does not drive sales, because, well, if you would like to look at the other important, very basic concept, it would be quite easy to explain. You see, credit is not selling. Credit facilitates sales, but credit is not selling. To prove it, imagine you are coming to a car dealer to buy a specific model, and there is another model which you don't like, and it has credit facility. Another one, you already took money, or you're considering buying that car. You like that model, but you won't buy another car just because there are credit terms on that. There is a credit facility on that. No, you came to buy a specific car which you already found, which satisfies your needs. Especially if the difference is between Fiat Cinquecento and Ferrari. Yeah, you won't buy Fiat Cinquecento, whatever payment terms are, if you're interested to buy Ferrari. Sale is not driven by credit. Sale is driven by, first of all, by the attributes of the product. If you have questions on that, please put that again. Dispute me. Let's have a bit of contradiction. Let's have a debate. But so far, you see, extension of payment terms must be used carefully, because maybe to me it is easier to speak about that today, because I'm writing, a text about the payment terms extension. And we all know that, granting credit to customer comes with a price. In more generic, wide view, we understand that we must remember that use of credit for the purpose of selling comes with the price, and credit charges its price on creditors, regardless their readiness to pay. Yeah, you extend payment terms, you like it or not, you take credit risk. You take the risk. You get that necessity to finance it, because you cannot grant credit grant liquidity which you are not having. So you need to find that liquidity first. Then you take credit risk, and then you have to administer it. I got part of my course were dedicated to what is called CCC, comprehensive cost of credit, and the company incurs it even if they don't extend payment terms at all, because there should be still somebody who allocate customer payments, regardless they come on in advance, or this is like post payment. In both cases, there is a cost of servicing somehow receivables. So there is no receivables without the cost. So receivables will always come with the cost, and the better they are managed, the lower that cost. That's quite simple. Thank you, Maciej. It's an important comment. I agree with you. So that's why we are linked payment terms like 30 days, 2%, 14. You see, it's given customer an option to pay earlier, so early payment discount is a quite nice thing. However, we need to be careful about that, because you see, simply given 2% discount means that we are buying 14 days of our liquidity for 10%, for 2%. If we multiply that by as that 14 days or even 16 days, so we are speaking about 4% per month, and this is like 48% interest rate on our revenue. To some clients, to some companies, this could be affordable if we try to consider, for instance, oil trading, or other types of trading companies who has gross margin close to couple of percent, and not always. This might be an affordable luxury. So what I'm trying to say is there is no right instrument, there is no wrong instrument. There is an instrument, and offering customers early payment discount is an instrument. In some environments it is appropriate, in some environments it is inappropriate. And I do agree with you that, very often, especially with riskier customers, if we can sell on the edge of our profitability, on the prepayment basis, or with the shorter payment terms. So if we use early payment discount to reduce the risk exposure, that's a great way to go. That's a great way to go. Again, if customers do agree on that. It depends on the environment. It depends on the situation. If it works, very good. I'm very happy about that. So whatever it works. Only the only thing I try to prevent everybody who is using credit is that please don't use instruments you don't understand. So if you calculated the potential impact of this instrument on your business and you are still profitable, especially in terms of unit economy on the individual customer level, if you are profitable and this brings you profit, this brings you cash flow, please go ahead. Whatever it works. But if this puts you in, if you use kind of credit management instrument just because it's cool and it would bring you losses in the end, well, you better think twice. You better think twice before using it. So, the informal motto of credit engineering the one I repeat on each and every credit management course I deliver. Quite simple. Use instruments with clear understanding of their properties and attributes and the consequences, obviously. So I thank you very much for your comments. I really appreciate them. So there was another one. It's my favorite one. A misconception. I believe. Please, somebody put a comment here that, Andrei, we don't want to hear that. So I will not doing that, but I cannot avoid mentioning DSO. And DSO as a KPI. And to me, this is the problem. To me, this is the huge problem because, from time to time, I'm monitoring the job descriptions on LinkedIn. I see that people are looking job, and then there are job descriptions, there are job offerings. And I would say in about 50% of the job descriptions published on LinkedIn, obviously job descriptions concerned with credit management, there is a statement DSO reduction. You see, let's take a little bit of history. I've discussed the topic of DSO with Glenn Bullivant, because he has I got 30 years of experience in credit management, but he has much more bigger, I don't remember the specific number, but it is at least double from my age in credit management. And because he is one of the oldest credit pros I know, I asked him, Glenn, do you know what is the first mention in the literature, in the professional literature of DSO? According to his findings, he didn't share the source because he promised he will continue to research a little bit on that to find something. However, what we found is that DSO is in use from 19th century. That time, when the accounting records were kept in the paper journals, in books. We all remember why we call accounting also. Part of accounting is a bookkeeping. Yeah, they were written in the books. So to simply get total number of accounts receivable was already a bit of job. To get sales on a monthly basis was already a job. So simply getting accounts receivable and sales from the books was already was already a substantial amount of job. Therefore, the idea that we can simply take receivables, divided by sales and multiply by number of days in the period for which we sell and see, how many days of sales are still unpaid, was great thing. Yeah, it was great thing, especially when we compare that with the payment term. So there is a correlation between them. But then somebody wise, obviously with irony, started to tell that, to call this coefficient and this ratio as a collection period. Meaning that somehow receivables divided by sales and multiplied by number of days reflect the period the average invoice is paid. Long story short, in my corporate career, I had a pleasure of calculating and explaining DSO to people who was requesting them. Like auditors were asking, can you please explain the DSO variance? Can you please explain why DSO is higher or smaller on or whatever? And quite interesting. We had very low overdue, close to zero, but DSO was continuing to fluctuate. Yeah, so you have very close to zero, sometimes even zero overdue receivables, but DSO is fluctuating. It is naturally fluctuating because, sometimes we have higher sales, sometimes we have lower sales, and, receivables are paid with the payment terms. They are normally paid later, but this brings us to a very simple, very basic, very clear idea that DSO fluctuates regardless of overdue outstanding. So it fluctuates. It has, there is a correlation, but it is not, firmly connected to the repayment period, even to average one. Look at your portfolios. I will be happy to know. Write to me if you have a portfolio. But you see, we used to believe that if we have an overdue, our accounts receivable get higher. This intuitive, but reality is counterintuitive. In reality, total receivables continue to be as they are. It's not only about overdue. There are customers who pay late, there are customers who pay earlier. And the average of that is not a DSO. Okay. There is a modification, which is called true DSO, which is not used in sales. So if you would like to know the real collection period, to take the weighted average of all the invoices, for all the invoices in a period, meaning that there is an invoice issue date, then there is an invoice actual payment date. You take the difference and you weight it by the invoice amount, and then you got repayment period. You may take the difference between actual payment date and the due date, and average days late. This is correct indicator of payment behavior of customers. This is true. But when somebody says that good credit management is lower DSO, well, I try to avoid expressing things I think about that, being gentle, or kind of. Yeah, because that's really a misunderstanding of the whole concept of credit management. Because if we have a look at credit management itself, we need to ask ourselves why receivables exist. Not how we use them, but why we use them. What do we use them for? Yeah? Or much more important thing, why do we extend payment terms? And we will see immediately that the only reason for payment terms extension is support sales, support trade, be competitive. Is there any other? Please comment, dispute me. I would be happy, because I was asking that question. I was asked with that question, and I was asking that question to my seniors. I mean, seniors. If you wish, on YouTube channel of Credit Engineering, we have a series which is called Legends, where I was interviewing a big number of high caliber credit professionals, people I learned from. Glenn Bullivant, whose book I've read, I don't remember how many times. It was laying on, it still lays on my table somehow. I was speaking with Michael Dennis. I was speaking with John LaRocca, Philip King, a great person who actually insured royalty under his management. Institute of Credit Management received the Royal Charter, and our profession received the recognition. And all of them were saying one thing: we do our job to support sales. It's not, credit management is not only control. We do this job in order to support sales, because if our terms are incompetitive, we cannot get that cash. So, long story short, how can we judge on effectiveness of use of accounts receivable? By a primitive single ratio: receivables divided by sales. Here there is one here I would make one reservation. You see, we cannot come to CFO or to treasurer, and if they want to see better DSO, we have to deliver it. Just like in army, we have a direct order, we have to, but we can deliver it with simple readiness, sir, yes sir, or maybe we try to get another discussion with them and try to explain that DSO is not reflecting the quality of receivables. On LinkedIn, in other sources, there is enough information to share. And the last one, maybe the last argument, you see, because currently I see this problem, I mean, sometimes spent on DSO and topics like that, got me an opportunity to have a look a little bit wider, and I understood that, okay, DSO is a measure which could be used when no other data are available. No other data is available. So like when we look at the company's financial statements and we have only receivable sales, yes, we calculate this. And DPO, as Maciej is writing, and DPO and DIO, when there is no other data, obviously, we use what we have. However, when we are inside the company and we've got all that detailed information, why should we put DSO as a KPI? To finish with DSO, because, okay, I mean, everyone would say, Andrei, it's a lazy thing to say that DSO is wrong, DSO is incorrect. What should we do? To answer that question, which I presume, which would, rise in my mind if I will be sitting, let's say, on the other side of the screen. I would say we need to put KPIs depending on what we need to improve. Simple thing, if we have a look at, for instance, a significant part of companies do have an issue with overdue. Yeah, we may calculate DSO or we may calculate overdue percent, but my personal experience was quite simple. We need to ask myself, I took another portfolio, just another portfolio under my management. I had a look at it, I did portfolio analysis, and I understood that the main problem with this portfolio is overdue outstanding. So what should I do about that? I need to reduce overdue outstanding because this is my face. Yeah? Being CFO, being general manager, being whoever, business owner, chairman of the board, we have this guy, I would think that we have this guy who is responsible for receivables. We pay him salary. So why do we continue to pay him his salary if our overdue is growing? Why it still exists? Because what is the real, if we look at that with the eyes of a business, what is the real target for overdue? My answer I gave to myself like this. It's 0. Customers should pay on time. We need to strive for that. Therefore, we need to take, so if my target is 0, so I take whatever amount of overdue, absolute amount. Because I don't care how this relates to the total receivables. There is an amount of money which wasn't paid on time. And I want it to be 0. Therefore, every day I have to look at that amount of overdue and do my best until I get it, until I eliminate it completely to the 0. Obviously, this presumes that I look at the reasons of that overdue. How can I remove them? And this, by the way, this exercise actually gave me a clear understanding for the first time that we should not collect. We should make our customers paying on time. And this is not about DSO. DSO is too simple to describe credit management function as a whole. This is not only my opinion. First article I read on that was written by Joseph Buzutil and Luda Tiunison, who is now chairing the FECMA, European Federation of Credit Management Associations. He's professor of economy. And that was the first article I've read from they wrote that article together with Joseph. And they discovered that credit management function is too complicated, is too complex to be described by such a simple thing like this. So one simple thing, it's just a common misconception, and it is simplification. Primitivization, sorry for my bad French, of the whole credit management. And this is, that simplification is actually the highway to losses. Because when we say credit management is simple, we open the door to all that simple things that, okay, if you pay people for the DSO, they will be delivering your DSO. Like, if you hire a credit team and ask them, bring me better DSO, they will do. They will do, because people do what they paid for. But this would never be for the good of your business. I still remember that, one research, there is quite big famous multinational company. I don't name it, just not to get something personal. But I still remember how their head of credit was writing articles on LinkedIn about DSO, while the company was losing, their company was losing, like writing off 10 million euros more every year, which means that in 2015, that last time I've seen that, it was like 50 million. Year before that was 40 million, and then year before that was 30 million of bad debt write-offs. But you know what? DSO was going down. That was perfect. So that helped me to create the joke, like some of you might have seen that video on short video I shot several years ago, like credit controller rushes into the CFO's office and says, "Sir, our DSO, we reduced our DSO by 5 days. Wow! Do we have less overdue? No. Do we have less bad debts? No. Congratulations, you are still credit controller." So, ladies and gentlemen, take care of the real facts and real things, and not DSO, please. Don't waste your time. Try to bring good things to your company. Maciej, thank you very much for your comment. Obviously, I will put it on. Bear with me, please. So, obviously, it's better if DPO is higher than DSO. Well, yes. We cannot. Your comment brings me to the idea of the whole, of the holistic approach, not only on credit management. In credit management, holistic approach works pretty well. And I don't know if some of you already tried one, but, we cannot simply combine all the things related to credit and they will work together themselves. Which is not the case. This will never be the case. And the same story with the working capital. It is just as obvious. And you Maciej, absolutely right. That, if we have a payment term of 90 days from our supplier, and then we provide our customers with 30 days, and here I would say, provided that DIO is very small or we don't have any inventory. In that case, everything's perfect. But here you see, with all the reservations I already said about the DSO and DPO, if, imagine, we calculate both indicators on the weighted average basis. So we will put like true DPO and true DSO. Yes, if we are allowed, if we can get to there. Yes. But you see, one important thing to mention here is that DSO and DPO both is both of them are driven not by our work or by work of our, somehow by the work of our procurement team, of our sales team, but payment terms are driven by the market. First of all, sometimes there is a competition, sometimes this is the market position, sometimes it's just the bargaining capacity. And there is not too much credit team is able to do. Yeah? I am helping my clients to get longer payment terms from their suppliers as well, just that's the service we provide in credit engineering. But there is certain corridor where we can manage it. It's not like we can simply get payment terms we want. Everybody in production business continue to dream about the working capital, or let's say cash conversion cycle of retailers. Who, Maciej, coming back to your comment, who used to have such a situation, using their position, using their closeness to their consumer, they become inevitable, especially in most part of FMCG businesses, for the producer of FMCG goods. And they used to charge or demand, much more correctly to say, they used to demand quite long payment terms. They used to maintain lowest possible stocks, and they have no DSO at all. In their situation, their working capital is the way they finance their business. They are opening other shops, other outlets, other points of sales, and that's the way they develop. However, even they are not able to put payment terms, to the extent they want, because 2008 was a great moment for banking, who demonstrated their capacity to manage credit. This is sarcasm, obviously. But at the same time, exactly in that period of time, retailers started to charge, to demand payment terms like 120 days, 180 days, 200 something days. This ended up in European Union that production companies came to the legislators and said, look, it somehow should be restricted because they are abusing their market position. Which ended up with the restriction of payment terms in European Union by 60 days. Okay. At least there is a legislation which you can appeal to. There are other ways to convince and to negotiate payment terms. One of them is operating cycle. However, legislation is not the worst one. Legislation is not the worst one. You can always argue that if somebody is demanding 90 days payment term, you can find that legislation, quote that to your counterparties. Look, 60 days is maximum. Then you may obviously ask, how this 90 days is justified. Maybe there is a justification. Then maybe there is there are other arguments. But simply granting somebody 90 days or 180 days payment term because they ask for, okay, do you give money to everyone who is asking for them? Think twice. I actually covered what I was prepared for. So now I would like to hear your views, your opinion. In comments then maybe we will consider, a couple of other misconceptions, but I would like to have a dialogue first. While you are preparing your comments, I would like to make a couple of announcements, because some of you well, okay, let me finish with my announcements, and then Maciej, I will jump to your comment immediately afterward. So some of you might see changes on our pages on LinkedIn. So I will explain that a little bit. When I was creating and founding the credit engineering, we had the main idea behind that was to make sure that every company, regardless its size or geographical position or industry, has an access to knowledge and instruments which allow them to build an optimal credit function, which manages credit, which ensures the best possible credit management results. And over the years of the development, we came to the 3 directions. So we can be your consultant. So we can look at the situation, we can prepare our recommendations, and then which you will take and then implement and do so. Yeah. Then some of you, I see. I will explain, Ramesh. Then some of you may already attend it or see our credit management courses, so we can consult you, we can educate. We educate credit managers. If you have a team of credit people whom you want to educate, simply prepare the list of knowledge you would like them to have, or we may agree on the testing, so we will test them. We will send like testing materials. We will test them. Then we will see what they need to know. We discuss them. We will prepare a training program or go ahead. Or you can have with us ready-made credit management programs like our DCM course or smaller one, which are now on Udemy, quite simple to get there. Find under the word in trade credit or Andrei Sichka, you will get that. And there are 3 directions: structuring or trade credit decision making, and then there is credit control, proactive credit control, and debt collection. So all the 3 courses, and we are working now with our association IAPV, so we will you can get, having these 3 courses, you can have a certificate. With DCM you can have British Professional Diploma, but that's 40 hours, and you would need to wait a little bit until we organize another course. And the 3rd direction is an outsourcing, so you can outsource to us whatever credit management task you have and you don't want to keep in-house, or you have no capacity to do. Obviously you need to have budget for that, but that's like it's always a trade-off. Sometimes it is not necessary to keep like credit analysis or portfolio analytics or customer information or debt collection in-house for certain cases. But we don't restrict to that, so simply again challenge us, let us know your task, and we will bring you a solution, an outsourcing solution, whatever you got the need of. I gave examples. We do portfolio analysis, credit analysis, credit reports we can bring, cash collection. Please, whatever case is, bring it to us. We only charge success fees. Other things will come, but so far it is like this, and we are restructuring our pages on these topics. So you will see already we changed the credit and receivables management page, which is dedicated to educational and training. Then there is debt collection page, and we are now updating the page related to TCM, which is TTCS, which is called Trade Credit Solutions, where analytical tools, analytical instruments are at your service. So if you need to have like second opinion, we did that in a simple way, so you can simply order one credit analysis or one credit report at affordable price. Okay, Maciej, I'm coming back to you first, and then to Ramesh and to Sadiq. Sadiq, it's always great to see you online. Thank you very much for following. Thank you very much. I really appreciate support of you, and ladies and gentlemen, every one of you, because it's quite difficult to have, to deliver all these ideas without your feedback. Maciej, there is another. Okay, I put it on the screen. There is another issue I come across quite often. The sales want to agree loan payment terms with customers, whereas credit management needs to mitigate the risk and obviously want to have shorter payment terms. How to cope with that? Maciej, that's a great question. Great and very practical. Thank you very much for asking it. No irony, because sometimes I'm cynic, but not in this case. You see, we already mentioned today that somehow we credit managers and sales got, I could not say they are contradicting, but we have like different priorities. Obviously, the job of sales is judged by the sales volume they bring to the company, by additional revenue if you wish. Yeah. At the same time, our job is to make sure that resources of the company are used effectively. Although, don't get me wrong, we need to support sales to the reasonable extent. It's not like we're supposed to give them as much as they want. Once I've heard, I think we are coming from more or less the same culture, because you are Polish, I'm Ukrainian. In Ukraine, sometimes we both, our nations are known for being too much straightforward. Once I received appreciation of my work, like, we don't want to have any credit limits, any payment terms, and kill please somebody that stupid credit controller, because otherwise we are unable to sell. The solution lays in a field of cooperation, obviously. I will explain how I get to it. Because we and sales are looking, so if this is the customer, if this is the sale, we are looking from two different and from two opposite sides on that subject. Sales are looking on one side and we are looking on another side, and we are trying to find common position, which is extremely difficult to do. I think you know that that famous story, like three blind people were looking at the elephant. They were touching different sides of it. One was touching the leg, another one was touching the tail, the third one was touching the nose. And this was creating the different view on the whole subject. So, the solution I found for myself, and it worked for me and it worked for, let's say, most part of the clients I'm working with, is when we sit together with sales and look at the subject from one side, or we combine our knowledge. Then this put us into the position, into the situation where we work as a team. Yeah, because you see, problem starts when within the company, sales are assessing credit risk, and credit team is judging on sales. This will never be right. This will never be correct. But if we combine that knowledge, okay, here is the potential volume. Yeah? The potential volume, we calculate, okay, here is the volume. Obviously, this brings certain level of profits, the income, and so on and so forth. But based on the payment terms you propose, this also brings credit exposure, cost of financing, administration, cost of trade credit security, and others. And then if we combine all this, everything together, we might find common ground, we might find trade-off. In this case, this might be workable, but as long as we are not communicating the credit risk, and if everyone will look at the customer, at the situation, at his own narrow view, this will always be a problem. Always. But if we try to communicate that, if we put all together, okay, here is an opportunity. The sales is an opportunity. Customer who wants to buy our goods, our product, is always an opportunity to get higher revenue. But this opportunity comes with risk. We need to put both risk and opportunity, wait and take common decision. We cannot completely avoid risk, and we cannot satisfy all the customer needs. But when we combine the holistic picture together and look at it together with sales, we might become friends of them, because we are supporting their sales to the extent it is reasonable. If we understand the opportunity, if we understand the risk, we can come together to a higher management to get approval. So like override our credit policy or do something else. That's what I was doing myself. And this, by the way, also a solution when we speak about rising the profile of credit management within the company. Only God knows how many credit people continue to believe that they are doing right job just because they are collecting cash, but they don't receive recognition. And I'm already lost my voice. I got a throat ache explaining them that, over the years of your career spent on debt collection, you already received as much recognition as you can. If you continue to collect, you will continue to receive the same recognition. If you want to have more recognition, you need to do something more. But if you continue to do what you do, plus to that, you will be trying to promote your cash collection efforts. Your recognition will not be bigger. It will be always the same. And Maciej, just by asking this question, you're already bringing your credit team to the next level. Just by asking it. So there is a way to do it. If you wish, we can. If you wish, I think we are connected on LinkedIn. If you wish to discuss that, let's agree on the time and have a chat on that. I will share with you my. We will discuss that. I will share some other examples. Not to impose too much. There is a masterclass on our YouTube channel. It is called Introduction to Trade Credit Structuring. I think it is open. It is free, so you can watch it and you can find. I'm sharing that general approach, how to get there. That our approach to structuring, which I'm using for last, already don't know how many years. Ramesh, you're asking tricky question, but I promised to ask all of them, so I will be answering this one as well. How AI will impact credit engineering? It depends on what AI is capable to do. Let's be clear. First of all, I have to be frank and honest with everybody that my texts start in 2023 are corrected by artificial intelligence. I'm not taking ideas from him, from it, or from him, or from her, from whoever. Yeah, but for sure, this instrument knows English better than me. You can hear what I'm saying. I'm making lots of mistakes, despite the fact that I am learning English for last 23 years. So there is still pretty much a lot to improve in my English as well. So my English is corrected by artificial intelligence, and I'm very grateful to this instrument for his existence. Second thing, obviously, creation of collection letters and communication and update of communication, especially in different languages. That's really what I suggest you use in your practice, and that's what we are using in our practice. So when I need to write a collection letter in different languages, obviously everywhere I can, I ask local or native speakers to correct. However, that the time spent on preparation of texts, preparation of communication with different counterparts, with clients, with everything, artificial intelligence changed a lot. We are becoming much more faster, we are becoming much more better in that way. Remembering that communication with people remains key. Because credit management is a part of decision making, and decision to pay, decision not to pay, and decision to grant credit, to control what to do if things don't work properly, is taken by people. Therefore, our job is to communicate with people. I do believe that credit management is a communicative job. Therefore, with sales, with the stakeholders, with customers, with authorities, with whoever. Therefore, first of all, we need to use artificial intelligence for that. When we speak about, because lots of people say that artificial intelligence will change the approach to credit risk, I would be a bit reserved to that, because obviously the creation of credit risk model is becoming fast. By the way, if you wish, I will continue to promote our YouTube channel on it. There is our discussion with Edward Altman, the author of Altman Z-Score, and his business partner Gabriele Sabato, and he's also they were also doing common researches in terms of credit management, and they were sharing the view on how artificial intelligence impacts credit risk assessment. This means that we can have in more detailed explanation, we could have our models adapted in seconds. But this will be still the same credit risk modeling as it used to be. If we come back to the very beginning, to basics, in the famous research Good to Great by Jim Collins, he called technologies as accelerators, meaning that they cannot move us, but they can help us to move faster. We moved by values, we moved by ideas, we moved by the processes, we moved by cooperation. But technologies and artificial intelligence, whatever we may think about it, is a technology. Yeah, they can accelerate, they can help us to make a dramatic move. Like, if you wish, use of electronic communications was a huge step forward in terms of efficiency from, let's say, sending collection letters by post. Yeah. Then we got messengers and everything, but coming back to the basic, to the very, very beginning, we need to understand that a letter, even delivered, or let's say message delivered by a pigeon, a letter delivered by post, an email, a telephone call, a message on the messenger, instant message. They simply deliver a message from one person to another. The only question is a speed. The only question is a number. But what's the reason, for instance, of sending, thousands of dunning letters to a customer if all these letters are going to spam? They have no effect. Message is not coming to the recipient. What's the reason of sending one letter or 1,000 letters? It is absolutely the same. So we, coming back to credit engineering, yes, we are considering the use of artificial intelligence. We will continue to consider that. But again, with the clear understanding of its capabilities. Where it is reasonable and reliable, we use it. For instance, if I have financial statements of a client, of a counterpart, and I need to do a quick analysis, I don't mind to ask artificial intelligence to do that analysis. However, I don't want this machine to take decision. even a decision whether or not to share this analysis with the client, because credit decision is always messy. Credit decision is unavoidable. The one who grants credit supposed to take his or her own decision about taking risk and about chasing the opportunity. We as consultants are not allowed to take decision, or let's call it dispute, or say something about the taken decision. Our job is to bring information, customer takes informed decision. We did our job. This is it. David Popper, need to jump to my next call, but thank you for sharing your knowledge. David, always a pleasure. Unless you mind, I will send you invitation to the next event, and please keep asking your questions, keep commenting. Sunil, hi. If you have question, please ask. I'm very happy to see you. I'm very happy to know you're here. Maciej, we continue our dialogue. Thank you very much. Obviously, it's also connected with the right credit limit being given to a customer after analysis. Absolutely. That was the topic we discussed on previous masterclass. I just mentioned that because it's already on YouTube channel, because actually the idea of discussing misconceptions started from the credit limit, because too many people continue to consider as credit limit whatever they want, but not something which relates to. I will simply mention that, you see, there are like two. That's, by the way, partial answer to your previous question, Maciej. So, when we speak with salespeople, when I spoke with salespeople I used to work with, they used to say that the credit limit should be sales focused, divided by 365 and multiplied by the payment term. This is their understanding what is credit limit. When we go to finance people, then the credit limit should be calculation based on financial statements plus maybe certain coefficient on the payment history and so on and so forth. So altogether this will be, based on methodologies we mostly use in credit engineering, this will somehow a certain part or certain percent of company's net worth, which we define as a credit worthiness. But this will be like how much money it is safe to entrust or to grant to a client without any security. So finance people tend to call this as a credit limit. But then there is a problem. You see, if we will be doing business only with good customers, our sales will be lower than we can, when they could be. And you would be right to say that if we will be setting credit limits as salespeople ask, this will open the door to the enormous or unnecessary risk taking. Therefore, when I speak about the credit limit, I say these two things are correct, but neither of them is credit limit, because what finance people calculate on financial statements and financial strength of the customer. Should not be called credit limit. It should be called credit worthiness. So how much credit a customer could take and return, or how much credit is safe. What salespeople believe credit limit is should never be called credit limit, but this should be called credit demand. So how much credit is needed for the transaction to happen or for the transaction to be successful. But in the middle of that, somewhere between the two, in this corridor, should be an amount of credit or credit limit which we, as a creditor, having creditor's free will grant to a customer. And this will be the credit limit. Sorry if I went too deep into detail, but you see, all these two things is a very good start. So we just need to calculate both and have a look at them. And obviously, salespeople would be saying that we need credit demand as full. But there is a way to cool them down. It was quite surprising for me to find, but you see, it's very difficult to convince somebody when we speak in different units of measure. Because if we, like in banking, if we will be using default probability against the amount of credit needed, we will never get the common ground. It's just like you will be speaking Polish and I will be speaking French. Especially taking into account that my French is terrible. But as soon as we define credit worthiness in money, and as soon as we define credit demand in money, we compare the two, we can clearly see the credit risk of a specific transaction. Credit demand is million, and credit worthiness is 100,000. Then, I tested that on, I would say, good 200-300 of sales, head of sales. Then, 1,000,000 and 100,000. The difference is 900,000. Whatever we might think about risk exposure, I ask, are you ready to put under risk 900,000, euros to get what? Yeah, what is the profitability of that transaction? What benefit we receive? Are they comparable with 900,000 we need to be prepared to lose if we take this risk? We simply put, as I said, things as they are, put them together on the table and discuss. And then, okay, what can we do about this 900,000? What can we do about them? Can we bring any security? If there is a way, perfect. We bring security of, like, for instance, customer is able to provide bank guarantee. Boom! Done. We got bank guarantee, we work freely, we utilize our sales potential. Great. But what if not? That is discussion. If there is insurance available, let's insure. LC, okay, it's difficult, it's a hell of a job to administrate, but, or like SBLC. I mean, LC is SBLC is more or less like bank guarantee, but, with LC, okay, it is better. No, nothing of that. You want us still to take credit risk? Okay. Let's see, we know the risk. What benefits do we receive? And let's balance that together. And this brings us closer to the common decision making. If benefits are quite high, why don't we take credit risk? acceptance of credit risk is as good way to manage credit risk as other form. But if risk is too high for nothing, like if we, put, using my example, if we put under risk 900,000 and then we earn 10,000 euros a year out of that credit limit, then the practice might be found quite questionable. But what to do if we don't get the right insurance for credit limit? That's what I was saying, but let's get a bit in detail. You see, even with credit insurance, we need to be clear, that credit insurance is not removal of risk. Credit insurance is is risk reduction. Classically, we have 5 ways to manage risk. We can accept risk, we can reject risk. Acceptance of risk means that we are getting full benefits of the transaction, but we take full risk. Rejection of risk is opposite. We refuse to get all the potential benefits of the transaction, and we avoid taking any risk. This will be how much customer will buy from us if they will be buying on a prepayment basis. Simple as that. Then there are 3 others. Hedging, transfer, and mitigation. I don't believe in mitigation because, reservation of title and other things like that, it's just like they are softening the risk, but in the end of the day, customer either pays or not. 2 others, hedging. In case of hedging, we simply limit the impact of risk on our business. The best application in terms of trade credit risk is booking bad debt provision. So we limit the impact. If customer fails to pay, then our P&L in the end of the year will be untouched. And then transfer of risk. So we can transfer risk to one of the possible parties. We mentioned bank guarantee. We or insurance company. In case of insurance, we understand that even on the level of one individual customer, we don't have coverage of 100% of that credit limit. But there will be always participation. Normally it is not higher than 90%, so 10% we will still have to bear. Plus to that, it is not necessary that the limit given by insurer will be as high as we want. If you work with credit insurance, you know better than me, and you know without me, that very often we would need a credit limit, higher. The credit demand is much more higher than the limit of credit insured. And then we have to decide. But even if we get back to the insured part of our receivables, which will never be higher than 90%, of the outstanding, we need to understand that this is not a removal of credit risk. It's just like we are taking risk, we're transferring risk from our customer to the insurance company. And a lot will be dependent on what is the quality of that insurance company. With the bank guarantee, is the same story. We are not taking credit risk of our client, but we are taking credit risk of their bank. So before we accept that instrument from our client, we need to assess their credit risk. And the credit risk continue to be existing. So we still accept credit risk, but different one. And just to repeat my previous answer, we take risk, we assess risk as it is, complex transaction. Either it is like open terms with the client, or it is partially open terms and then something secured. Some of my clients were doing even funnier things, like they had like credit limit from insurer, then the difference they were asking customer to cover with the bank guarantee, so there was a combination. And then the difference between all of that would be an exposure, and then we decide, are we happy to what benefits we receive against taking this amount of credit risk. Let's be clear. It must not be necessarily money or profitability or whatever. There might be other, I don't know, what could be like, distribution on the market. Another big customer, any other things which might not be as material as money. But we need to, when we see the credit risk, we need to to weigh the risk and an opportunity. And coming back to our profession, we need to be clear that we are not the whole company. Our job is to show the risk of the transaction. And if, let's say, our view on the risk, or how much risk we can afford, how much risk we can take is okay for the business, then we take a decision if they're authorized to take a decision. Or we simply inform our management about what is the risk of this transaction, and clearly, without hiding any risk, without hiding any single detail, and then we let management to take their decision. When working here on the consulting side, I never dispute, never discuss, neither dispute nor discuss my client's decision. My job is to provide information to make sure they understand all possible consequences. This is my job. And then they take decision, whatever they believe is correct for their business. To give you maybe, quite relevant example, the example which I believe is relevant to the question you are asking. Once we had a case of credit limit increase, quite dramatic, like from 3 million to 10 million, to a client in an African country with a very high country risk. Don't ask me about their financials, scary movie. And there was like a big meeting to decide on that. My boss came to me and said, Andrei, what can you tell me about the credit risk of this credit limit increase? I said, short version would be, we need to be prepared to lose all this money any given moment of time. Then I gave explanation why country risk, the guarantee which is not the guarantee, and so on and so forth. And then, I just want you to be clear that yes, risk is like this. Then she went to that big meeting, and the decision was to extend the credit limit, to increase, to increase the credit limit just because the opportunity was much more bigger than risk. I'm not sharing details, but that's I'm not allowed to share that. So, Pan Jarosz, thank you very much for asking your great questions. I really appreciate them. And thank you very much for supporting me with your questions, with this dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are coming to the end of today's session. It's already 2 hours. I do thank you very, very much for being present in today's Q&A session, for listening to my ideas, for paying so much attention to my humble work. If you have any further questions, please put them in comments, send them directly to me via LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you need any help in terms of credit management, as I said, in terms of consulting, in terms of outsourcing, and in terms of education, again, trainings and credit management courses are a thing I like. If you need to, maybe I didn't mention, but again, if you need it, we also have individual coaching in terms of credit management. From time to time, people find that useful, so please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because some sessions are closed and some of them are open. I highly recommend to watch Legends session. Legends, there is a playlist about Legends. My pleasure, Jarosz. My pleasure, Maciej. Always happy to be helpful. So, and individual coaching, if you need to bring somebody like your credit manager, credit personnel up to speed, if it is individual, we can do that as well. Whatever demand about trade credit you have, let me know. We will either bring solution ourselves or find the right partner for you to solve your issue, to bring your money back and to grow your sales. As usual, I wish everyone present and everyone who is watching this in record highest possible sales, lowest possible losses, or as it could be said in French, bon crédit. And I see you next time. Bye-bye.